So this is reality with partiality. I am yours truly, a life transformation coach. And together with me is my co-host Ivan Williams and our guest Bill Guerrero Flores. Say hello, guys. Say,
Yes,
how
hello,
are you
hello,
doing?
hello.
Hello,
I'm
hello,
doing
hello,
fine.
hello, good morning. Ida Yangi Binapito.
You want to
Um,
get Gavel?
uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
So,
Ivan Atibuge. Ivan, go ahead and
Yes, man.
introduce yourself.
Yes, man. Good morning again. I'm here, Ivan Williams, and I welcome you and Bill, and I welcome the audience. And we can talk on several things because that's very important for us to strengthen each other's and
Yes.
try to give ideas. And so,
Well, well, we
welcome.
will not be talking. Bill will be doing the talking.
All
So
right.
we are merely introducing. And at the end of your delivery, Bill, then we will talk. Then we will have a conversation around your talk. But what we are doing this morning, listening audience, is we are about to do a clinic on stage. That's what we are doing. Today we are doing a clinical exercise wherein our guest Bill is going to tell us about himself, during which time we will listen without drawing any conclusions. From what we know about Bill in the past and so on, we will simply take what he presents, take what's there in reality. So we don't draw conclusions about people. We simply take what's there. For people are in transformation. And as long as they are alive, there's always the awesome possibility that they will become the very best version of themselves and therefore only become full-fledged whenever they are dead, assuming their mental acuity remains intact. For no two people are created alike. People are individuals, and as such, they are indivisible, one of a kind. Therefore, society and the education system have miserably failed when instead of creating a conducive environment wherein individuals blossom and become their very best version, they instead, society and the education system are causing people to compete with each other to become the so-called gold standard, role model, you know. So living by comparison is a terrible way to live. We only know the concept hard because we have something to compare with. When we were growing up and carrying water from the river by foot, on the head or shoulder, we didn't call it hard until we saw this mule and cart, until we had running water into the homes. Because then we had something to compare with. So don't live your life by comparison, for it is a terrible way to live. Become the very best version of yourself. Bill, go ahead and make your presentation.
first, let me say I do appreciate your introduction. It's interesting. When you said, I start thinking, am I the best version of myself? Am I the person that I think that I am? And those questions depends on the time and the circumstances. Could the answers could vary. So first, my name is Bill Guerrero Flores. I'm from Dangriga, born and raised. I attended Sacred Heart School at a very young age. I graduated from Sacred Heart School, and I learned a lot at Sacred Heart School. But one of the things that really sticks out in my craw because of my objective today is that I remember the nuns admonishing us for speaking Garifuna on the school grounds. That was a no-no. And I'm thinking, imagine that you're 12, 13, 14 years old, and someone of authority, of ultimate authority, is telling you not to speak your language. Now that have a deep, devastating psychological effect on a human being, on a young human being, because you start thinking, okay, if my language is not good enough for a place of learning, maybe I'm not good for this place either. You know, these are some of the things that we have to deal with the educational system that we are raised with, that we are raised in, or that we experience. You know, now the educational system, as far as the 3 R's, was excellent. I figured out reading, writing, arithmetic, something that most young people don't know what it is today. But you know, I came up with the 3 R's. After graduating from Secretary School, well, while going to Secretary School, my grandfather, George Victor Guerrero, who's a veteran of the First War, we own one of the biggest grocery stores in Dangriga. And I used to spend a lot of time with my grandfather because he is my greatest influence. He is the person that I used to read a lot of comic books because we had this store and we sold comic books. So whenever come to the store, I would read them voraciously. And my mom had an issue with me reading comic books. And I remember my grandfather telling her, it's okay as long as he's reading. You know, so so one day, this man gave me a book with no pictures in it. Now remember, I'm a comic book reader. And he gave me a book with no pictures in it. And I remember the name of the book. The name of the book was The Day Christ Died, which is a large book with over 1,000 pages. So he gave me the book and he said, well, read this. So I started to read the book and it was not interesting. I guess because the pictures weren't there to feed what I was reading, something that I was accustomed to. So when my grandfather then he asked me, well, let's talk about the book. Let's talk about what you read already. So I told him, I said, you know, I don't really get what I was reading and I don't fully understand. So he took the book from me and he started to read the book to me. But the way he read the book, noticing all the commas and the full stops and the expressions, now this book became alive. I'm saying, wait a minute. He read this book to me and it's different from the book I read. So I started to think, okay, let me start to pick up on that. You know, so I started to read in that vein. And then him and I would discuss what I read. That's when he introduced the concept of cause and effect to me. You know, because a lot of people read, but comprehension is a different story. And interpretation is a different story. And also what's interesting in reading, you start to think about what's implied, what's not said, what this author might be saying. You know, so there's a lot of interpretation to something. It's not just face value. Now I'm here talking about this, and I'm really digging into my memory this morning. You know, and I remember this saying that I first heard it from Percy, and it blew my mind when he told me that memory does not have an intelligence, does not require intelligence. And you know, when Percy made that statement, I started to say, wait a minute, let me think about this. You know, and upon further thought, he's right. So from Sacred Heart School, I went to Lynham Agricultural College. No, first, I enrolled in Aston High. This was the first year that Aston High was accepting boys, because Aston High was an all-girls school. And I was one of the students in the first class of Aston High. So I finished that first year at Aston High, and my grandfather learned more about what Lynham was doing. You know, the kind of men that Lynham was producing, the sciences that Lynham insist upon, and the teaching and the hands-on teaching for farming and all these things. So he decided he was going to send me to Lynham. The best decision I think a human being ever made for another, because being at Lynham Agricultural College was some of the best times in my life. It was highly competitive because here it is, 150 boys, 12 miles away from civilization. And let me explain 12 miles back then. 12 miles was a long, long, long way. It's not like today you could jump in your car and go 12 miles. We didn't have cars. So we had bicycles that we had to walk. So I went to Lynham, and now that I'm thinking about it, Lynham is a mirror of society in the way that people of like backgrounds have a tendency to gravitate to each other whenever they find themselves in a different place or away from home. So there were cliques. There were groups of Creole guys from Belize City and Dangriga guys and guys from Honduras. But my best friend at Lynham was Anthony Chinona. Him and I was like, when you see Tony, you see me. You see me, you see Tony. I mean, and when his dad used to bring supplies for him, he also included me in that supplies that he would bring to us. And when I would go to Dangriga for a weekend, Chan would come with me, and he would stay at our house with us, even though he's a Quilin. But he never stayed with Quilin. He insisted on staying in my house. So we formed this bond, him and I, at Lynham. And that's one of the good things that happened to me at Lynham, was the people that you met. And I believe that Lynham was the only international school in Belize. And I say international because we have students from all over the world, you know, and that's another great benefit of this fine institution. So I Lynham, and interestingly, I was in the first class at Aston High, and I was also in the last class from Lynham, because after I graduated, Lynham closed down. So and I just thought about that, you know. So I was first and last for these institutions, these schools. So after I left Lynham, I got an invitation from the government of Belize through one Mr. Guzman Ellis, who used to run the agriculture department in Belize. Now, Mr. Ellis was opening up a school in Central Farm, where 2 students from each district were sent there to learn advanced agriculture. And from Dangria, from the Stan Creek district, it was myself and one Russell Chiste Garcia, became senator. Him and I were the representatives from Dangriga. And we went through the program at Central Farm, graduated, became certified farm demonstrators. So when I left Central Farm, I was a certified farm demonstrator, and also had a assignment already, which was Toledo District was going to be mine. But at the same time, this invitation from my mom, who was in the U.S., that if I want to come to the U.S., I could, you know. And for some reason, America at the time seems irresistible. So I decided to take my mother up, and I came to the U.S. Now, my idea, like everybody else who come to the U.S., was to come to the U.S., get educated, get further education, and go back home. Oh, and incidentally, when Senator Garcia got that summons, got that invitation to study at UWI, I also got the invitation. But instead of going to UWI, I chose to come to the United States. And I'm still waffling that in my mind occasionally, because I keep thinking, had I went to UWI, went back to Belize, where would I be today, and what could I have been doing? But knowing me, I would have probably been involved in politics at some level. See, because I was raised in an environment of helping, of assistance, of giving, because that's all George Guerrero did all his life. You know, he assisted and he gave. So, and he raised us in that same manner. Now, I do have to mention my grandmother, Dominica Guerrero, who was the lady of the Catholic Church. Anything for a Catholic Church involved Dominica Guerrero. Matter of fact, during those times, CARE used to send products to Dangriga, like flour and milk and clim and these kind of things. And my grandmother was one who was in charge of issuing those items out. You know, so the family had some prominence and some importance because of what we stood for in the community. And I benefited from all this. And one way that I benefited from all this is that because I came from that family, automatically respect was given to me. Not because this was respect for Bill Flores, but this was respect for the Guerrero family. And I marveled in that. I even took advantage of it. You know, but I do have to mention my dad's side of the family, Flores. If you lived in Dangriga for any short period of time, I mean, it's not like 15 years ago, my Aunt Melva, that's my dad's sister. And everybody know Aunt Melva because she walks fast and she talks to everybody. And that's my auntie, that's my dad's sister. So I also spent time with her and my fraternal grandmother. You know, so and my fraternal grandmother lived what I would describe as the real Garifuna life. She lived within the confines of the values of the culture, and this was where my Sundays were spent with this woman. And I can recall whenever I would go to the house was upstairs and the kitchen was downstairs with the fire heart. My grandmother would wake up in the morning, fan the fire heart, this coal that's been burning there overnight, and she would just start a fire. I mean, that was amazing. I remember having little strips of pine wood, because pine wood is an accelerant because of what's in the pine. You know, put it in a flame, it flames up like a match. And I also remember that. So what I started doing is that when I would go there a little early, just so she can allow me to light the fire, you know, because it was scientific. You know, you didn't just get there and scratch a match. You know, this was a process. You know, and I learned this there. You know, with my fraternal grandmother. Now, I came to the U.S. and seemed like the first month I was here, I enrolled in school. I enrolled in the college. Then I realized after a few months that I wouldn't be able to afford paying for my education. You know, and I couldn't expect my parents also to afford to pay for my education, because then I had 6 other siblings back home that my parents were maintaining. So I learned that the U.S. government would pay for your education if you serve in the military. So I joined the Marines, which was challenging, but the challenging wasn't as much for me as it was for my peers in the Marine Corps. Because remember, I'm a lineman boy. I'm used to this rough life. I'm used to these challenges. I'm used to these environments with other people. So and additionally, I also knew how to swim, which most of my American brothers didn't know how to swim, so they had to learn how to swim while I busied myself doing something else. So there was a lot of advantage. So I served in the Marine Corps, and my last duty station was 8th and I in Washington, D.C. And 8th and I was attached to the White House. So whenever dignitaries would come to the White House, we would wear our dress blues and stand in formation, when the guests came. Because I really remembered when Queen Elizabeth visited. This was during when Jimmy Carter was president. And imagine I was standing just a few feet away from this queen, and I thought that alone was interesting. So, and also stationed with me at 8th and I was Deacon Navis Hernandez, also from Damriga, the son of farmers, and we went to school together. We went to elementary school together. We also went to Austin High together. He stayed in Austin High while I went to Lynham. And the next time we met in Washington, D.C. When I checked into the company at Washington, D.C., and they took me to my work site, we worked at MCI, Marine Corps Institute. This was the institute that provided correspondence courses in a myriad of subjects to Marines out in the field, out in the world. We would prepare these packages, send it to them, and they would study, take the test, and they would send the test to us, and we would grade the test. So actually this was my function when I was in DC. But the barracks was at 8th Street and I by Washington Navy Yard, and I used to walk the 4 blocks to work daily. And daily, I used to pass this African dance studio. Every day, I passed the studio going to work. Never paid it much attention, not even to what they were playing or how they were playing. But until I remember one day, there was an event at Malcolm X Park. And I went to the event. So while approaching the park, I heard Garifuna rhythms playing. And I got excited. Remember, this is in 1972. And so I rushed. I rushed to the stage, and I looked at the stage to see the people dancing. I recognized no one. Yet, the rhythm they were playing was uniquely Garifuna. So after the performance, I went backstage, and I met the director. The director was Cacho, someone I didn't know. So when I introduced myself to him, he knew my family because he was from Dangriga. But his dance group was an African dance group, but using Garifuna rhythms. So that kind of, and I believe maybe that was my reconnection with my culture. That was my reconnection with my culture, because it was from that event that I started to look into who is Garifuna, what is Garifuna. And I started to take a different look at it, and I came up with Garifuna value systems. And once I understood Garifuna value system, that was the guide for my life, for the rest of my life. Because everything that I was involved with and involved with today, my first question is this in line with my value system? Because I believe value system is who and what you are. You know, your value system is who and what you are. And we have a unique value system. You know, and when I say value system, I'm talking about our language, our relationship to each other, and our humanity. You know, because people may not realize today, because maybe the transformation of Dangriga, but the awesome humanity that is ingrained in us. You know, so it is in us. So if we can reach out to it, it's right there waiting to be reintroduced to yourself. You know, because I believe that the growth of humanity first, humanity towards each other, and then humanity to the rest of the world. You know, because you know, like the old saying, no man is an island. So after graduating, after leaving the Marine Corps, honorably discharged, I moved back to Los Angeles and I enrolled in school. Now this time the enrollment was different because now I know that paying for my education is not an issue anymore because the government will take care of that. So I attended, first I attended a junior college, LA Trade Tech College. And I was there for 2 years before I transferred to Cal State University. And but the interesting part is this: when I left Los Angeles Community College, Trade Technical College, and I went to enroll in Cal State Dominguez Hills, I was asked for proof of high school, even though I had an AA degree. But that's how important proof of high school is. And I didn't have it because I didn't bring it to me. I didn't know how to access it. And then I only had like 3 days to produce it if I was going to be enrolled in that semester. So the counselor said, well, if you're not able to get your high school transcript, then you can go take the GED, General Educational Development here in the U.S. So I went to the educational department here in LA. I walked in. I told her, hey, I want to take the GED. She asked me which subject I want to take first. I said, no. I want to take the whole thing. She said, but that's rarely done. She said, that's rarely done. I said, yeah, ma'am, I need it. So let me take the whole thing. So I took the GED and I scored in the high 90s. So when I scored in high 90s, and she corrected, I told her if he can correct it now and give me the information, because I got to take it to the university. So she did that. But before she did that, she announced it. She announced to the office, hey, this guy just took the GED and he scored high and he took the whole thing. So there was a lady sitting all the way in the back. And she said, son, where are you from? I said, Belize. You know what this lady said? She said, oh, yeah, those people are smart. So apparently, I was not the first Belizean who did that. You know, because the lady said, oh, yeah, Belize, oh, those people are smart. You know, she just said it like she's seen it before, you know. And I do have to say that at Lynham, in a class of 30, I'm probably number 20. So all these other guys, they were much smarter than I am. And I did this on their test, you know, and I keep thinking about it. Like, oh, this is funny. So I went on to Cal State Dominguez Hills and studied sociology and biology. And I came out and I got certified as a counselor therapist in LA.
Okay.
Did drug counseling, did some family counseling, because what we do is help people in their behavioral change. You know, because most issues that we have comes through our behavior. So if we can if we can give life lessons, or talk the person into figuring out their own life lessons, because if I tell you, then you still don't know. But if I guide you into developing it yourself, then you have it, because it is of you and from you and for you. So that is what I did, while I also worked part-time in a medical laboratory, you know, working in hematology. Did some biological work, like looking at counting cells in in urine, and doing sperm testing, and all these things, you know. So so I kind of have this duality life, and then it came where I started. Then I met Mr. Ruben Reyes,
Okay.
who is the ultimate Mr. Garifuna.
Okay.
And he would talk to me in Garifuna, and I would respond to him in English. So he used to ask him, say, Bill, why don't you talk to me back in Garifuna? Because I said, because I don't speak it that well. He said, yes, you do. He said, and how I know you do, because you've never asked me to interpret anything that I tell you. You understand all the words that I tell you, so you know those words. So all you got to do is start using them. And then I started, and we started to do projects together in the community, um, introducing the culture, expanding the culture, and then the idea of opening a museum came up. So we started to work on that, and the museum got developed to what it is today. You know, and today, being the director of the museum, this is my passion. Uh, my objective for Gamola, Garifuna Museum of Los Angeles, is for our information to be stored in these universities. So this is what I do, and also and also to access AI and have conversations with AI about my culture. Because let me just share one incident with you that I had with AI. I asked AI about Garifuna, and AI gave me the spiel about the history. And there was a word that AI used that I disagree with. AI said that Garinago were deported to Honduras from St. Vincent. And I objected to the use of the word deportation, because you can only be deported to your land of origin. And we did not originate in Honduras. So I told AI that we were exiled to Honduras and not deported.
Yes.
And through a series of explanation, AI finally agreed with me.
Okay.
So then that tells me, so now that is a part of AI's memory bank.
Yes. Very
So,
good.
and I do that with other things, Garifuna, with AI. Because when I looked at, when you used to look at Google and you Google Garifuna, and Garifuna give you the Garifuna history, talking about, they would have you believe that Garifuna history started with a shipwreck. But that's another story. And
Yes,
I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there right now. You know, so then Ruben came up with the idea of a movie. So and this close friend of ours, I am a French guy, Ali Allier,
Okay.
the person who made the first Garifuna movie, even before he met Ruben and I. He made the Garifuna, and the name of this film, that the first Garifuna film, was Espiritu de Mama.
Mm.
That was done by Ali Aliye. So
Mhm.
Ruben got him to come to be our guide, our director, our everything. Because Ali understood the business of filmmaking.
Mhm.
So I remember we met at the museum one night. And the story was already been developed. But what we needed, because the story is the film is about trying to open a Garifuna school, a Garifuna learning center. And so in this Garifuna learning center, we needed a piece that would highlight the school. So Ali decided that let's do a play in the school. So in the movie, there's also a play in the movie. So
Okay.
he told me, so when Ali explained it to me, I came home from the museum that day and I sat on the couch in my living room on my laptop and I wrote Garifuna in Peril, just that one sitting. I like it seemed like, well, it didn't seem like it was inspirational.
Garifuna in Peril is a movie.
Yeah, it's a movie. But before it was a movie, okay, we had decided that we was going to do 3 films, and we was going to call them the Garifuna trilogy. But when I came up with the play, and the name of the play was Garifuna in Peril, when Ali and Ruben saw the name of the play, they immediately got excited, and everybody thought, well, okay, well, this will be the name of the movie.
Okay.
This is going to be the name of the movie,
Okay.
So I agreed. So that's where the name Garifuna in Peril came from, was from the play that I wrote.
Mhm.
And so we filmed it. Most of it was Some of it was filmed in Honduras. Most of it was filmed right in the museum. And we also rented a warehouse here in LA where we built a Garifuna village in the warehouse. And we did a lot of filming there. So rightfully, that's just like a encapsulation of who I am, briefly. So I'm open to questions, comments.
Well, your friend, our friend, Francois, is asking about. He said, "This question is for Percy." He said, "How can you become the best version of yourself?" Um, just briefly, Francois. Individuals are able to blossom when they are joyful, able to find their niche, and become competent in their craft, making themselves their stiffest competition, being desirous of each day becoming a better and better version than you were the day before. So, in finding and doing that which you love and are good at, competent at, you joyfully keep applying and improving yourself because you're joyful. You don't realize where the time goes. So that is my answer to the question. Now let's go
Well,
to our co-host. Go ahead.
allow me to address
Go ahead.
Francois. Everybody knows Francois, the CEO, the creator of GaraVision. But
Yes.
that is the story that I'll talk about in another time. How that came about, and where the idea came from, where it came from Francois' mind, but how the idea came. Because the
Yes. Yes.
idea
Yes. Yes.
was actually developed in a garage at Francois' house. But
I see.
that's another story that I'll talk about at another time. But
Yeah.
I do have to say what drove us into Gary Vision was because we saw the need of information to our people about our people.
Yes.
And that is why, and when we decided, and that's why the caption is uh, um, um, Gary Vision, we talk about things that people don't want to talk about. But that that is the other half of my life that I will address.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's go.
if
Go
I
ahead,
could
Cole.
also add there, I think to the question that it's all about becoming a full-fledged human being,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
that
Yes.
requires time and process.
Yes.
It's something that we are not perfect, and so we have to grow in that
Yes.
maturity,
It's a
right?
lifetime process.
It's a lifetime process,
Yes.
and we have to we have to be able to deal with our emotions and other things.
Yes.
All right, and
Yes,
we have to
indeed.
be social. We have to be non like Bill said. We can't be self-centered. We have to of service to humanity. And
Yes.
so it is a process. It is something that will take a lot. But the first step is to self-search to see, as you said, what is your niche. Don't be
To,
a follower.
to
Yeah.
explore. Right. Because life is an expedition, and the intellect is your tool for exploration. So you don't anchor, i.e., in a religion, because if you anchor, how can you set sail? Unless you set sail, how can you explore and know life? So Bill at the top referred to something he and I had discussed when I talked to him about cheetah intelligence, because the mind has 4 branches. The one we refer to as the intellect is the logic. But logic is booty, a sharp knife. You only use it to dissect things. It works with the 5 common senses. But if you want your intellect and you want it to be sharp, like a scalpel and knife, then you have to have a steady hand to hold it with. So booty is only as good as the data you enter into it. And so the ID badges we carry is that data that booty works around. So that is the other branch of the mind. The identifications that we form, we identify with Belize, diasporan identify with also the US. We identify with the family we're born into. We identify maybe with a church and so on. But the more we identify, the further away we drift from our core spiritual center. Because of all these identities that we form, we begin to discriminate, because every time you say, this is my family, you're saying the others are not, i.e. So the logic, what we call intellect, is only as good as the data that you enter, the ID. When people strongly identify, i.e., they say, look, I'm going to die for what I believe. Then on the back side of that, they're saying, I'm willing to kill if needs be. So these identities are best traded in for one universal identity. For God is one, and the universe is one energy. God does not discriminate. So what I have done is I no longer identify with either a church, although I used to be a church pastor, or a political organization, although I used to belong to a political party. But I associate with all. And I associate with all without getting entangled. All religions, all. And Christianity is only one religion. So I don't discriminate. I believe that all are born children of God, the 8.2 or 8.6 billion in the world, because all are God breed. The third branch of the mind is what Bill was referring to, cheetah intelligence. It has no memory at all. It works with your consciousness and awareness. It is the way you know how you think, how you feel, and how you experience life. It is how you know God. You can't know God through logic. You can only surrender to that process. So this logic is, you require for logic proof, reason. But for cheetah intelligence, it is like how you'd know a prostitute, strictly by experience, which is perfectly legal and spiritual knowledge, without no need for any darn understanding. That is how you know God, through the experience of a relationship with your cheetah intelligence. That's how you know you're alive. With your cheetah intelligence, your consciousness and awareness.
I'm glad that you say that. It reminds me of something I said.
Go ahead.
Only a few days ago, I was talking to a friend, and he's telling me, "Man, I'm praying for the Lakers to win." You know, so I told him, I said, do you realize that when you pray for the Lakers to win, you're also praying for the other team to lose? And he looks at me, and I say, yeah, that's what you're doing. Because for every yin, there's a yang. You know, I say, if you're praying for a team to win, in effect, you're also praying for a team to lose.
Yes.
And that is not godlike. You know?
It's true. It's true.
So God is not godlike. It's like we have a tendency, we confuse things, like something I mentioned to you yesterday, Percy, like the difference between your goal and your dreams.
Okay,
you know,
go ahead.
Don't mix them together, because because your dream should not be your goals. I mean, you want to attain it, but it's not your goal.
Yes.
You know, and you have to keep that in perspective.
Yes.
If you're going to be sane.
By the way, goal is a finish line.
It is.
It's not a starting place, so you don't need to set one. The most important step is the one in front of you. For the process is equally important as the end product.
Right.
So when you want jasmine to grow in your garden, you don't think jasmine. You think of the ingredients you need, like the soil, the water, sunlight, the air, etc. And then you do that processing and you manage the process. But Ivan, you were chipping in.
I'm listening, and I'm saying that it's a process. And so one of the first ingredient, as you were mentioning, in growing jasmine is just like that. You have to first be conscious of who you are.
Yes.
Right, you got to start there. And then how you relate. Bill mentioned, how do you relate with each other? Because we are different. No two people are the same. And so
what happens if you, Bill, and I say this is me and that's you, then in your calculus will be, okay, what is me is bigger than what you are. So you start you don't start this way. What you do is you realize that there is just God is only one, and you have your own body and mind, but you don't have your own life. Life is a shared commodity, shared not only with human beings, but with all other living creatures and things. So when I look at you and I look at Bill, I see you as forming part of myself. So my integrity is that I want for you vision-wise, the same things I want for myself, nothing more, nothing less. So so I don't see you as different in that regard. I see you as forming part of myself. You follow?
I'm
Yeah,
following, and that's
I get that because there's a one thing Franzo and I used to do. We used to like to ask the question to people, "Who are you?"
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like a simple question, but usually when you ask someone, "Who are you?" they'll tell you, "Well, I'm such and such. I'm married to such and such. I have so many children.
Yes,
I went to this school and this." No, but
yes,
that is not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, who are you inside of who you are? What are your thoughts? What are your consciousness? What are your
yes,
beliefs?
yes,
What are your drives? What are your goals? What are your
yes,
incentives? That is really what I want from you when I say, who are you? You know,
yes.
I don't want
You
you,
are right
I don't
on,
want you
spot on,
telling me
spot
who
on.
you are attached to,
That
you know?
because that is your psychological drama people refer to. When they speak about who they are, they're talking purely in the physical realm, things about you that you can change, your character, your personality, putting on makeup, and the like. That is your psychological drama. It's not your reality. Your existential reality is your 70 years of life or average, which is the lifespan in Belize. That is who you are at the core. Reality is something that never changes. So that is who you are. That does not change. Your physical will end at a point. That's at the core, you're a spirit being, an eternal spirit being. So people little realize that when they talk about themselves, they're talking about their psychological drama, not their existential reality. You don't need to necessarily have a or several personalities or characters. Characters I used to use on stage with Square Peg. What you need is like God. God is a spirit whom you can't see. So God is a presence. A presence is so much stronger, more effective than a personality. So just be a presence. If the color
and
of the room is white, become that. You know,
and and,
God
and
is
Percy,
present. That's how God is present.
and Percy, I thought while you're discussing that, I'm trying to process it in terms of your self-awareness. How do you uh, demonstrate that? And you will have to ask yourself certain questions. What you value, what your values are,
Well, see,
what motivates you,
well, see, Bill was
recognizing your strength and weaknesses.
see, Bill was going into memory, but you don't realize who you are from memory. You have to explore. You follow? You have
Yes,
to
I
go out and
follow.
experience. You have to go out and experience. The weakness of many professors, PhDs, is memory. They only speak from what they quote quotations from an author or some teacher or whatever. They don't have life experience, and that's what AI cannot do. It can't duplicate experience. But anything you can analyze, anything you AI can do better and faster than you. So life is an expedition. Your intellect is your tool for exploration. So that's what you do. You go out and experience life, making memorable experiences. If you have always thought, okay, this is what I'd always wanted to do, this is what I want to become, fine. So your career is about you. Then you've had a successful career. Now you're envisioning, which is simply a larger ambition, because now you're inclusive of everyone else, wanting for them the same things you want for yourself. That's what a vision is, an expanded, yeah, that's what it is. An expanded ambition. So that's what integrity comes in, that you want for everyone else the same things you want for yourself. So if somebody says, and I'll cap it with this, I am free to do as I please, they are speaking from compulsive thought and behavior. They're not speaking from being a position of being free, because freedom, when you use it, it is conscious. Instead of being compulsive, you consciously choose to say, okay, I will do what's best for me and my family, and I will do what's best for the world, community, etc. That is exercising your freedom. Because working from the reptilian brain, like the dog going around peeing on every light post, I, me, my, marking its territory, is boundary setting. That's the nature of the reptilian brain. Human beings also have that. It's here in the back. But when you're working from your consciousness and awareness, you are transcending that boundary setting, and you are doing exactly what the intellect wants, to be boundless, to grow and expand without limit. Human beings, you see, don't come with a top line, no ceiling. They can grow and expand limitlessly. So you will yearn. You're yearning for that. You're yearning for fulfillment, but fulfillment, you cannot become completely full. You can only become completely empty. So fulfillment means living a full-fledged life. That's what it means. And to have fulfillment, Francois, you've got to bring your body, mind, and spirit under one roof and just keep driving and becoming a better and better version of yourself, only becoming full-fledged whenever you are dead, as long as your mental acuity remains intact. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Percy, when you were talking, your explanation took me to the proclamation that Guerrero got from UNESCO. UNESCO point to the intangible yes. Heritage of humanity.
Yes.
And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the intangible. We're talking about the essence of you. Yes. I mean, we're talking about your thought process, your value system, your yes. humanity, your relationship yes. to another human being. Those yes. are the things that are important. And also supporting those things are your music, your songs, your art. These are the things that are valuable. These are the things that are valuable. Those things that you cannot touch or see, but you can feel it in your life. Those are the things that are important, because like I tell people, I say, you know what, when you see, like I told my grandkids, like when one of their friends would buy a new car or something, I would tell them, you know what, I said, or people see people from home talk about, you go around people from talk about, oh yeah, well, I got this and I got that and I got that. And I'm telling them, this land that you're in right now, I tell them, if I decided right now that I want to buy an airplane, I can do that. See, because my abilities are limitless. But once I set my mind to it, and once you make the commitment, the same commitment that you make to the woman that you marry, it's with that same commitment you want to deal with everything else in your life. Because you can't remove yourself from who you are. Because wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah, but I want to also mention that many of us go in life reacting. We are in that reacting mode rather than to understand oneself and use that as the impetus, the projection to go forward.
You know why? Because we like to live our lives by comparison. And we are incomparable. Individuals are indivisible. Instead of seeking to become the best version of yourself, you're saying, okay, my neighbor is driving a Benz or a Rolls Royce, I want a Mercedes. I want something bigger, better. She has a 70-inch. I want a 90. If you want ask an individual, what anywhere in the world, what do you want? That person will say, I want pleasantness within and pleasantness without. Within meaning myself, without meaning the environment.
Percy,
What-
let me share. When
Go
I
ahead.
talk, when
Go
I talk
ahead.
to couples, when I talk
Go
to
ahead.
couples, what I always tell them, I said, you have to realize that your significant other is not your competition. He or she is your partner. Because I noticed a lot of young couples compete with each other, and that's a path to destruction. Because why should I compete with the person that I love? From the time I love that person is as close to me or as important to me as I am. And I'm not going to compete with myself. I partner with myself.
I can
Yeah.
only say that you are the producer of love. So when you love someone, whether it be platonic or intimately, you must love completely, intensely, because you can only fall in love. You're the producer. You cannot rise in it. So if you are the only one that falls, however, then you're being exploited unless the other person also falls. So
And there's no such thing as a controlled falling.
right. So you can only love without conditions, truly. Otherwise, you're holding the other person to ransom.
Sure.
It's best not to have expectations, because then you will never get disappointed. So
Percy,
yes, go
I
ahead.
also feel that when you compete, which is not good, you have to have your own version of yourself.
Yes,
That competition sometimes drive you into looking at success rather than the character that you are.
right,
And that's a danger, because sometimes the
right.
character needs to be developed. You
Yes,
need to have integrity, well
yes,
disciplined.
yes,
You have to have compassion for others
yes,
and
yes.
humility and
You're using a
responsibility. And
scale.
so,
You're using a scale
yeah,
to say this is the gold standard. This is what success is. Instead of realizing you, because to become the best version of yourself, you create pleasantness within yourself, which you have 100% control over. Your body, energy system, thought, and emotion. When you create pleasantness in your body, you're healthy. When you create pleasantness in your thought, you're peaceful and joyful. When you create pleasantness in your emotion, you're loving and compassionate. When you create pleasantness in your energy system, you're blissful and often ecstatic. You have 100% control over that creation of pleasantness within yourself 100% of the time. But as for the environment, you can only influence it because other people have a say so. So what you do when you go into an environment is, even if it's depressed, people are mourning, you can be caring, but you don't have to get down on yourself because you control that. So that is, instead of trying to squeeze pleasure out of the environment, create it for yourself. So pleasure seekers, you used that word on a previous show, live their lives in cycles. They are looking for pleasure. No, you are the one that create that from within yourself. It's not in the environment. You're the one that create that. You have joy and peace of mind when you create that here. Am I getting through?
Yeah, you are getting through, and because what you explain is some things that I experienced that I've always experienced in my life. I just didn't have a name or a term for it. Like, for example, you're sitting in the classroom, and this teacher is trying to teach you how to solve this mathematical problem, but you're not getting it. And then suddenly one night you're in your bed, you're sleeping, or you just wake up, and it hits you. Oh, that's
Yes.
what it's saying. That's
Yes.
the
That
light
is it
bulb
right
go off
there.
in yourself, and that
That's
happens
it
to me
right
quite
there.
often because you don't get everything all the time right away.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
we process things differently, and some of us are slow.
That is the difference there.
That's the difference.
Truth and reality is not read in a book. You can only realize it, and that's the relationship between truth and reality. Reality never changes. It's what exists. It's what comes naturally. Now,
And all,
truth
and,
is something you can only come to realize for yourself. So
and
when it
that
hits you
comes,
and you say, "Aha, I got it,"
Right.
that's you realizing reality and truth, which was always there, but now you get it.
And also,
and so,
Percy, you do have to be honest with yourself,
that's right.
because a lot of times there are people who lie to themselves in the face of truth, and I don't know how they manage it, because I'm not capable of doing that.
Oh, they manage it the way they because but they can't sit still because they lie to themselves. You can't be like a mountain still and stable when you're psyching yourself. You have to be real. That is the only way to live. To be
There's
real. You
something
can
that
use psychology on others, but you must never use it on yourself. Always tell yourself the truth. You look into a plain mirror and
I
just
work as
take
Well,
what's there.
I work as a
well,
counselor therapist,
yeah.
and sometimes when I'm talking to my wife, she would tell me, "I'm not one of your clients. Don't talk to me like that." But but Percy, you guys know that you can't remove yourself from who you are, from your training. You can't. Because as soon as you open your mouth, it becomes evident. Because it's really a part of who you are. And and you really can't fool
Bill,
yourself. How that person said, facts are the most stubborn things on this planet.
Bill, as
Keep showing
difficult
up.
as it is, we must continue to evolve into becoming a better and better version of ourselves, because people are born 90% alterable, only 10% fixed. And up to age 20, 21, a lot of that alteration can occur, in a conducive environment. You can change even genetic a little bit. That's mostly the 10% you can't, because your nose is from your great grandmother. It remembers genetic memory. But you don't want generational curse to be passed on. So you can alter that through your karma, the choices you make. So even the training you've received, you can change.
Yeah,
Because you
Percy,
decide that. You decide that. So even though you've been taught one way, inoculated one way, you can work on that to continue evolving. Things you used to believe, then you start saying, like I have, I no longer believe anything, no matter who says, until it enters my experience. I neither believe nor disbelieve. I wait for it to enter my experience. Ivan, you're there.
yeah. That
Wanting to,
I want to add by saying that that comes from, in my view, comes from learning how to think critically, right? And by critical thinking, no, you're not just following, as you said, right? And Bill talk about this, the truth. The truth is the truth, but you have to be able to distinguish the truth from manipulations. You know, sometimes if you don't think critically, and you have to be willing to change.
Let me say this
Right?
to you,
And
co-host.
yeah,
Thinking is an activity. You have to stop what you're doing to think. If your mind is only acting on its own, then you're not in control of it. Thinking is not from memory. That's all. Thinking is an activity to create thoughts. So you have to stop to think. And even your own thoughts are there to disrupt you. You have to quiet them. When we were listening to Bill, we needed to erase that chalkboard of memory. Bill is this way, Bill is that way. I've known Bill. To hear what Bill is saying, we needed to just take what's there, giving him our undivided attention. That's what you do. You think. You don't draw from memory. You think. It's an activity.
and think critically, because that's the important part of it.
What does that mean, though?
That
What
means you
does that
seek.
mean, though?
That means
Critically.
you seek evidence. You don't just follow, believe. So you have to have that ability to seek the evidence, to ask the questions.
Yes.
You know.
Yes, but let me ask you this. That is the logical process. But how about a relationship with God? Because you perceive one of two ways, only two ways. You perceive through logic, and to know anything, you first have to perceive it. So you can perceive through logic, and then perceive like how you know God through the experience of a relationship. So how can you be critical about God whom you cannot see? How? There's only one way to have a relationship through the experience. So
right.
you don't think about this. It's not with God. It's not a thought process. You just relax and have a relationship. Hello.
Hello.
But
Yes.
there's also manifestations, though, because we know we know all the credit that we give to God, knows all, sees all, you know, and that's a very heavy statement, you know, and when you say that God sees all and God knows all, and then the next thing you bring in the term free will. Now, where is that? Now, when you say knows all, so God knows all the evils that are happening on this earth, and God is love.
Hold on now. No, there's no evil. No, there's no such thing. Religion created that term. God created everything good. So evil is there to compare. No, so they call the earth dirt. So they out of convenience. So they go ahead saying, in want of a better place, about God created universe. They go and say, call the tree firewood out of convenience to destroy it. So be careful, because everything is good. God only created good. Hello?
Now I'm processing that statement.
Well, you see, in the environment, everybody can comport themselves where the environment is pleasant. Everybody has the propensity to be evil, to not do right. So when the environment is pleasant, that's what people call a success. So to identify someone and say that one is good or bad, you're saying I am good. You're putting yourself on a pedestal. You don't look at people that way. I am good and that one is bad. No, you don't. That comparison is not the way to live life. You look and you see somebody forming part of yourself, that as long as that person is alive, there are some possibility of transforming. Transformation is complete. Change is only parts of you change. I saw my dad transform right here in this house. He was an alcoholic for many years. But right here in this house, I saw my dad transform. I didn't know he could transform, but I saw it happen. Your guys.
Usually transformation comes with influence of factors outside of you. You know, and because if you know that you are involved in something that's not positive, and you keep on being involved in a thing, one day, you're gonna get it. You're gonna have a reality check, and usually, the only valuable reality check is the one that comes out of your mind, because when it comes from somebody else, then you still haven't dealt with it because it comes from somebody else, and that's why I said earlier, when you counsel people developing coping skills, you have to understand this person, their ability, their capability, and the possibility of their reactions. You know, so you have to guide them to go within. You know, where that God is inside of every man. That's what you're trying to reach.
Bill,
if you're going to help somebody,
only you live inside of you. Only you and your spirit can dwell in. If you say otherwise, then you're either schizophrenic or demon possessed. As an individual, you're indivisible. So God is a spirit, and that's how you relate to God, spirit to spirit. But only you live inside of you. You're like an onion with 5 layers, one inside the other. The outermost being your physical, inside of that your mental body, inside of that your energy body, inside of that your transient body, the ghosts people see when they fail to properly dispose of the human remains of the deceased relatives. And inside of that, the core, which is not non-physical, is your spirit being. So you are a spirit being at the core. So memory, every time you live memory, you're reliving the past. Okay, you know, it's a waste of your existential reality. Likewise, if you start to become preoccupied with what may or may not happen in the future, you're also wasting your time. It's not your existential reality. Your existential reality is living your 10 with full intensity, as if though today were going to be your last day. Not becoming preoccupied with what may or may not happen out of fear of death, whatever, or living out of your memory, the past. It is going out and making memories. That's living.
Percy,
Memorable experiences. That's living.
In processing what we have been discussing in terms of transformation, and you said you saw your father transformation right in the house.
Yes.
I think that comes, in my view, that will come when you can find your purpose. Because sometimes you stray away from your purpose. And purpose can come through various ways.
Well, you see, some people may say I'll go ahead.
Through family relations, or through interactions and service, through teachings, and more importantly, though, it will come about when you can create your own craft or create work.
Well, you see, this thing is dangerous when people talk about purpose, because it's religious lingua. You know, like God gives me a purpose. No. You don't come with a purpose. You come with life. Live life. If somebody says my purpose is to straighten you out, huh? My purpose is to deal with all these abortionists. My purpose is to, decide who's right and who's wrong. No. Nobody has that audaciousness, or shouldn't have that, to say this is my purpose in life. No.
Well. I was thinking that your purpose in life is to become the best person you are, and you have to search within to do that. That's the angle from which I'm looking at it. Not that
Okay,
I come for a
okay.
particular
I'll take that.
purpose to solve a problem, but
Yes,
when you search within yourself and realize that you're wasting
your
your life,
niche. This is who I
yeah.
am. Your niche. Yes.
You see, you said, "Look, what purpose am I? I am a human being. I should live a full life.
Yes,
What
this
am I
is who
doing?
I
Drinking
am.
alcohol? Is that going to is that what I'm here for?" So I'm
Yes,
looking at it from that angle. If you can, and that's where
yes.
transformation.
When Ivan decides and Bill decides, okay, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. This I found it. I found who I am. This is and so whether it be you're at that career ambition stage or that visionary stage, right? Vision is just an expanded ambition. When you want in a vision, the same, for everyone else, what you already wanted in your ambition for yourself. So it's just, so once you're on that path where you're realizing this is my niche, this is who I am, and you don't know where the time goes as you immerse yourself, right, with your competence in becoming the better and better version of yourself. So to the extent Ivan is evolving, doing that, Bill and I, we are evolving, doing that. We only become full-fledged whenever we are dead,
Well,
regardless of what anyone says.
let me say that in another way. When I think our quest as human beings should be is to combine our purpose with our function. And because a lot of us function outside of what we think we should be doing. But you're caught up in the function, and even though the function is not in line with your purpose. And that is why I always, when I talk to my people and about my people, I always bring up value system. Because value system is important for human beings. And we all should have the same value system, but we don't.
Well, I disagree because everybody has their own value system. You see, where did those came up straight out of religion? You see, everybody has their own. So someone will say my system is better than it's a judgment scale you're using when you say this is a value system. Society is saying we all need to wear a uniform. This is the standard. There is no such thing. Be yourself, your individual self. Be yourself and blossom, being yourself. There is no such thing.
So what about your community? What about your involvement in your community? What role does that play?
What you do is you keep your humanity lit. When you keep your humanity lit, you don't need any such thing as value system. Why? Because you see others as forming part of yourself. You're not there to harm. You're only there to appreciate. Because you look at other forms of life, you look at the tree, you look at the animals, you realize life is a shared commodity. So as long as you're keeping your humanity lit, you'll always have integrity. You'll always have integrity. You don't need to tell anyone how to be. You are a human being. You're born already knowing how you think, how you feel, and how you experience life. That's why this word raise is wrong completely as you guys prepare your concluding remarks. You don't raise, you only raise cattle. What you do is you create the conducive, enabling environment. You nurture children in an environment where you're inspiring them. So you don't do like what the army continues to do or the colonialists did, and you discipline them that way, top down. No, you inspire them so they love the discipline of making their own beds, learning their way around the kitchen and in the yard. So that discipline becomes resilience with time. You don't command and demand respect. No, Respect is earned, so that not because it's a toddler you bully the child. No, you earn respect. So these are the differences in the way you appreciate another human being, because they are born already knowing how they think, how they feel, and in mature time what they want for an ambitious career. I'm getting silent, so make your wrap up, guys.
Well, you know, there's a lot of thoughts here. There's a lot to unpack here, but like you know, like sometimes I have a friend who always brings up the point. Well, say, Bill, well, I'm a Christian, and to which I always tell him, I said, if you have to tell me that you're a Christian, then you're not sure that you're a Christian, because I should see that you're a Christian in how you carry your life. And you shouldn't have to tell me you're a Christian, because I know what Christians say Christians should be. And if you're that person, you can be identifiable without verbalizing it. You know, and it's the same thing I tell friends who tell me, well, you know, Bill, I know Rasta man, you know. Well, what does that mean? You know, what does that mean? Explain that to me, because I don't understand that. You know? But like you said, Percy, it's all about the individual and what's inside your mind and your heart and your soul. That's what's really important, because that is the only thing, and we call it humanity. And it's the only thing that we should share with each other freely. And if you see where humanity is lacking, it's incumbent upon you to make note of it. Because if you don't, then you can be deemed irresponsible. Because you
Like
didn't help you didn't help where you should have or you could have.
like we said, I said spirituality is boundless. So when I'm listening to you or spending time with either or both of you, I'm spirited. I'm not looking for boundaries. I'm open completely to appreciating who you are. I give you my undivided attention. I'm not there drawing conclusions. So I am friends with all the Christians, all the Muslims, all the 8.2 or 6 billion people in the world, regardless whether they're Hindus, whatever, because they're all God breed, all of them. Who else created them? I am no better, no worse. I'm one of. Life is a shared commodity. Your thoughts, Ivan?
Well, I want to end by saying that you know, you have to be able to demonstrate, as Bill said, you don't have to tell people you're a Christian, you demonstrate it. And one of the things that we have to always be conscious about is that we have to be able to manage anger.
Yes.
We have to be able to handle disappointment, because these are the things that sometimes affect you. So you have to be able and strong to handle these things. And in the relationship with people, we have to be communicating honestly. And remember, don't follow. And have to be able to accept constructive criticisms.
Yeah.
And always seeking ways to recover from failures. And most importantly, to show the empathy for others, the community, and sharing the space that we call Earth.
Yes.
So these are things that we have to always be working on to become that person that we should be.
Yes. If we are seeking to become better versions of ourselves, we will take constructive criticism. Yes, we will. We will. And on that note, Bill, you have a last word?
Yeah, I just want to say that life is a journey, and there are going to be pitfalls along the way. You know, it's how you react to those pitfalls that defines who you are.
Well,
Thanks for the invitation.
and Bill, we appreciate you. Thanks for your presentation today. This is Reality with Personality every 6 a.m. in the morning, together with my co-host, Ivan Williams. That's a wrap. Thanks for coming. Thanks for enjoying us. Have a good one.
Okay. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.